Tea spout. Tea spout.
I like a nice
Tea.
cup of tea in the morning.
Teapot handle, teapot handle. I say teapot, you say handle. Teapot, teapot, teapot. Spout. You've got your pot and your cup and your strainer and your tray, and you know that it's gonna be a very good day, and it feels like nothing's gonna get in your way, 'cause it's time for a cup of tea. You've got your tray and your cup and your saucer and your jug, and your kettle's turned on. Why don't you go and check the plug? And you'd rather have a dainty cup and not a builder's mug, 'cause it's time for a cup of tea. Oh, cup of tea, helps me see the gravity. Cup of tea, gives me such vitality. Cup of tea, won't you have a tea with me? And perhaps a bourbon biscuit. You've got your sugar and your bowl and your milk and your spoon, and that's the kind of way that I'd spend the afternoon. And when you hear the kettle boil, that's my favourite tune. It's time for a cup of tea. Oh, cup of tea, helps me see the gravity. Cup of tea, gives me such vitality. Cup of tea, won't you have a tea with me? And perhaps a piece of cake. Hey, Robert, if you like tea so much, why don't you write a show all about it? Well, you know what, buddy boy, I think I just might. And it would start something like this. Behold this humble leaf, picked, tipped, basketed buds, crushed and dried from warmer climes, a slew of boiling water, this beverage of kings, this humble potion that has always been there for me. Any time something good or bad has happened, a minor triumph or a crushing disappointment, the answer has always been to have a cup of tea. I'm only 3 miles from home, Mrs. Henderson. Pop the kettle on. Oh, I'm gasping. Tea, cuppa, char, brew, a tea for you and a tea for me. Cuppa, tea. That is how I'd start a show about tea. And then, because I'm achingly cool, I'd probably do a rap. I'm rapping with my tray, and I'm gonna move your way. This is what I have to say, 'cause what I need today is a cup of Earl Grey.
A cup of Earl Grey.
And that would be most pleasant. You know what is new, it's the things that I do. I spit my rhymes so hard and they're coming at you. I hang out with my crew and my home is too. I say,
Hey lads, would you care for a brew? 1 lump or 2? I'll be mother, shall I?
I'm a funky mother cuppa lover. Got a cuppa with my supper, but my pans you cannot scupper. Put no milk in, watch me splutter. I'm the bread and you're the butter. Got a scone too, add it to my song. Gonna make it disappear. Scone. Yo, sup, pass me a cup. If you wanna have a coffee, then I guess you're out of luck. Got a caddy, who's the daddy with his caddy. I got a decaf, makes me dozy. Got a teapot, get a cozy. And I prefer the milking first, if you really must be nosy. 'Cause I'm wild and I'm free, and it's brewing, you see. 'Cause seriously, this is all about tea. This is all about tea.
This is all about tea. Oh.
I hope you liked that. That was originally going to be about Cocoa Pops. Yes, my very own breakfast wrap. In fact, I started watching a documentary about the Cocoa Pops factory, but I mean, it is on again next week. It's a cereal. Do you like this tray? I think it's beautiful, or as they say in France, très bon. Where do you keep the tea bags, Nana? My gran always used to say, one for each person and one for the pot. My gran always used to say, one cup of tea, not too full, mind you, one cracker lightly buttered, thank you. My gran always used to say, I expect you'll be putting the kettle on in a minute. My gran had one of those whistle things on her kettle on the stove. It always used to build up as it boiled, and build up, and get louder and louder, and the pressure would build, and the steam would thrust from the nozzle, and it would get louder and louder, and just when you thought that you were getting somewhere, it would fall off. Boiling water, steam rise from kettle spout. On my tea bag, see the dispersal, Mrs. Henderson, a splash of milk. Momentary cumulonimbus, thunderheads in the porcelain, that Somerset mud consistency as billed as brew. Goodness oozes, diffuses. Extricate that tea bag and give it an extra squeeze. Now stir gentle that good cup. A stroke of loving, a dainty sip, dainty lip on dainty fine porcelain, and ooh, it hits the spot. It hits the spot. The spot that needed hitting is hit by a brew, by a tea, by a cuppa, that mellow blend, life-affirming, thirst-quenching, re-energising, spirit-perking, boredom-shifting. Use the strainer to do some sifting. The gloom that surrounds me now is lifting. It's tea, it's tea, it's tea, it's tea for me. Hello there, and welcome to Spout. Now, who really likes tea? Put your hand up if you really like a cuppa. Who thinks tea is really refreshing? Who puts the milk in first? Who uses a teapot? Who brings out the best china when they have visitors? Who brings out the best china when they have visitors and then pretends that they always use the best china? Who thinks coffee drinkers are weird? How weird are coffee drinkers? I'll tell you how weird coffee drinkers are. Coffee drinkers say things like, my uncle painted that picture before he died. Coffee drinkers say things like, I bought a new hat the other day to wear. Coffee drinkers say things like, I watched that film the other night with Sylvester Stallone. And I say, oh, he came round, did he? Did you share a packet of Frazzles? Bloody coffee drinkers. Tea is different. Tea unites people. It's a gift, a moment of kindness from one person to another. In a strange sort of way, when you say, would you like a cup of tea, what you're actually saying is, you know what? You're all right. You go into the supermarket and you see all those brightly coloured boxes, each one promising some relief from the tedium. The tedium. These boxes are saying that no matter what else happens today, I shall mostly drink tea and make the occasional wisecrack. And I'll try to make people laugh. And I'll tap dance on mathematics. And I'll do other things too, but mostly I shall drink tea. Today I will not lunge at anyone. Today I shall mostly not have a moustache. And if the sun is too bright, I'll squint, and I will not laugh at the unfortunate. And I'll just be myself, physically impossible as it is to be anyone else. But mostly, I shall drink tea. Today, I shall slither through people's consciousnesses like a computer virus, and dance temptingly outside the empty house of my darkest dreams, and push up life like it's a sash window, letting the love flow through like fresh air. and I'll be retweeted by a ghost. And I'll do the washing up, but mostly I shall drink tea. Today I will have eyelashes, and I'll breathe, I'm doing it now. And I'll take my linen suit out of the tumble dryer and tell it a joke and watch as it creases up. And I'll act like a grown-up, but mostly I shall drink tea. And I shall jimmy and jitterbug, sway to imaginary rhythms, find hidden subtext in rhymes, shake hands, make friends, hide behind false veneers, wear masks, gel my hair, shower, wash off layers, hide away from the world, be ever so quiet, shout it from the rooftops, push TV aerials and watch them quiver, jive, smile, laugh, dance, write my name in the sand, eat, sleep, drink, tell jokes, cultivate punchlines, doze, live viciously, live with vehemence, and try not to grab it all, while making it look like it's really no effort, that these kind of things just happen to me. Today I shall live sublime and do all of the above with the absolute screaming conviction that this, oh this, yes this is life. But enough about me. Today, I shall mostly drink tea. So, according to legend, tea was invented in 2737 BCE in China. The emperor was enjoying a nice cup of hot water when a leaf blew off a tree and plop landed right in it. And instead of going bleh and fishing it out, like a normal person, the emperor thought, oh, I know. Why don't I just drink it? Oh, I've invented tea. History doesn't tell us who did the washing up, but whoever did probably invented the tea towel. Tea became fashionable in Britain during the reign of Charles II when he married Catherine of Braganza. Apparently she was addicted to the stuff. She did go to therapy for a bit and promised to turn over a new leaf. Unfortunately, she then boiled it in water and drank that as well. The first shipment of tea arrived in 1664, followed shortly afterwards by the Plague and the Great Fire of London, which is probably where the British habit of putting the kettle on after a crisis comes from. The Boston Tea Party took place in 1773, of course, and led to American independence, and my word, they've been banging on about it ever since. The whole thing could have been easily solved over a sit-down and a cup of tea, but the bastards have thrown it in the harbour. So, what developments have there been since then? I was thinking to myself the other day, because you can't really think to other people. I was thinking to myself, in the 1950s, the future looked so amazing, didn't it? They looked ahead to the year 2000 and said there'd be flying cars and underwater cities and robots making dinner and all kinds of labour-saving devices, and you could take a pill and it would cure a broken leg. But now the future's here and all we've really got is videos of people cleaning rugs on TikTok and allergy warnings for nuts on packets of nuts. But there's one thing that gives me hope and demonstrates that the future is here, and that, everybody, is easy squeeze tea bags. You just pull the string and the tea bag squeezes itself. It's an amazing development in tea bag design, fiercely opposed, of course, by the powerful spoon manufacturers' lobby, because apparently we were all wasting too much time opening the kitchen drawer and looking for a teaspoon. 1 cup of tea, not too full, mind you. 1 cracker, lightly buttered, thank you. I'm going to be doing some acting now, so you've been warned. Acting isn't my speciality, I must admit. I was worried during rehearsals that I was overacting, but my director replied, honey, you've got to be acting before you can overact. Oh, Nana, look at me now. I'm doing a show about tea. I think it's been a mistake. Do you remember that joke that you always used to tell? About how your kettle gave the tea a funny taste. Remember that joke about the time the tea tasted funny? Do you remember that? And how you asked a neighbour to fix the kettle so it didn't make the tea taste funny? And your neighbour wasn't an expert, but they fixed the kettle using gaffer tape. Remember? And the punchline? A botched kettle never spoils. I still don't get it. Oh, Nana. Early morning mist, sun shining through the haze. It's all done by Wi-Fi these days. Have you ever gone into a coffee shop or a cafe and asked for tea and they've said, what kind of tea? And you say, oh, just tea. And they say, do you mean English breakfast tea? And you say, is that normal tea? And they say, yes. And then they go behind them where they got all these different blends of tea and all these fiddly little drawers, but the English breakfast tea's kept in a big box because that's the one that everyone wants. And if that's the case, then why don't they just call it tea? Life is unnecessarily complicated. I went into this cafe and they had 3 sizes of cup and I asked for a large, but when he gave it to me, it was a small. Hey, I said, this is a small. No, he said, it's a large. They come in 3 sizes, large, extra large and jumbo. I said, this is a small. He said, it's a large. I said, compared to the others, it's small, incidentally, story of my life. He said, we have no small. It's a large. Our sizes are large, extra large and jumbo. I said to him, I wanted a large. I wanted the biggest cuppa you could do. I wanted the most amount of tea. How can I enjoy this knowing I could have had bigger? I wanted a large, but I got a small. He said, it's a large. I said, it's a small. He said, it's a large. We have 3 sizes, large, extra large and jumbo. And I said, fine, I'll have the large, even though it's a small. And he said, no problem. And anyway, it's free refills. I said, then if it's free refills, then why do you charge more for the larger cups? Although, in his defence, he was absolutely gorgeous. Nana, there's this coffee shop I go to. I'm such a rebel. I go in and I have tea. There's this man that works in there. He's a barista. No, that doesn't mean he works for a law firm. He works behind the counter. Nana, he's gorgeous. How's my acting, by the way? Pretty good, eh? He looks like the love child of Professor Brian Cox and, well, Professor Brian Cox. What I'm saying is that he looks like Professor Brian Cox. And every time I go in, I want to say something, but I can't. I'm just too afraid to speak to him.
Oh, it's such a shame.
I'm too afraid to speak to him. I'm too afraid to say, let's go out for a drink sometime. That would make my day. I'm too afraid to speak to him. He's like some poster boy. They charge so much for the drinks in here, but it brings me so much joy. I'm too afraid to speak to him. I watch him making coffee. I'd like to make a cappuccino with him, all hot, moist and frothy. I'm too afraid to speak to him. The servings here are paltry. I watch him crank his coffee machine, all nonchalant and sultry. I'm too afraid to speak to him. He gives me occasional winks. Each time he does, I go right back and order another tray of drinks. I'm too afraid to speak to him. He must work out at the gym. His muscles bulge as he wipes down a table of Ajax, Peach and Vim. I'm too Surrounded by tea he probably wouldn't want yet more tea. I'm too afraid to speak to him, he makes me want to shout each time he picks up his J-cloth, cleans the end of his spout. I'm too afraid to speak to him, we talk about our feelings, coming home from work each day smelling of Darjeeling. I'm too afraid to speak to him, I really should get a grip. To him I'm just a customer who never leaves a tip. Never leaves a tip. Never leaves a tip. Never leaves a tip.
The man behind the counter, he's there. Can't you see him? The man behind the counter. One cup of tea, not too full, mind you. One cracker lightly buttered, thank you. Oh, it's so depressing. So I bought myself a joke book to cheer me up. Let's have a read, shall we? Right, here we go. The Big Book of Tea Jokes. Brew Ha Ha. Foreword by Professor Brian Cox. Foreword. I have always liked 3 things in life: a darn good joke, a nice cup of tea, and the entire universe. As this is definitely Professor Brian Cox who's writing this, I'd just like to say that this book of tea jokes ticks all the right boxes. It's filled with funny jokes, the jokes are about tea, and it's in the universe. I hope you enjoy reading these jokes. Yours, definitely, Professor Brian Cox. P.S. This is actually me. Where does the golfer keep his teas? In his caddy. A good one. Doctor, doctor, every time I have a cup of tea, I get a black eye. The doctor replies, have you tried removing the spoon? This is a good one. Why are tea makers so controversial? Because they're always creating a stir. Knock, knock. Who's there? A brew. A brew-hoo. No need to cry. I'll put the kettle on. Why does tea taste better from equipment that has been mended? Because a botched kettle never spoils. I still don't get it. My dad was always making a tea-based joke of his own. He was a civil servant for most of his life. When I was a kid, I would ask my mum what his job was, and she would say that he sat in an office all day and drank tea. And I'd think to myself, wow, what an amazing job. I believed for many years that he was working tirelessly helping the tea industry. Mind you, she also used to say that he wasn't allowed to look out of the window in the morning at work because that would give him nothing to do in the afternoon. But yes, he had a tea joke of his own, and it went like this. My dad would lift the teapot high and pour a thin trickle of tea into the cup far below. High tea, he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. Perfect equidistance, holding the strainer dexterously so that it captured mini clods of tea leaf in its dented wire mesh, his perfect aim assuring that the tea ended up just in the cup. High tea, he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. So he'd experiment, stand on a chair, on a footstool, on a stepladder, anything to gain the necessary elevation. High tea, he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. One day, a passing ice cream van backfired, yet not a flinch did we see, his perfect aim assuring that the tea ended up just in the cup. High tea, he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. And the next day he hired a 40-foot ladder, and he climbed to the very top. High tea, he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. And the next day he hired a hot air balloon piloted by a chap with an exuberant moustache, and he climbed in the basket, and the hot air balloon went up and up and up until it was just a speck in the sky. And just as he was about to repeat his usual joke with the teapot, a sudden gust of wind blew the hot air balloon away over the horizon, and we never saw him again. I never did like that teapot anyway, my mother said, and since then we've always used tea bags. Well, there's nothing for it. We'll have to summon the tea genie. Tea genie lives in the pot. Tea genie hums when it's hot. Tea genie, he laughs when it boils. Tea genie, da-na-na-na-na-na. I don't know the rest. What on earth, I hear you ask, is a tea genie? The tea genie is just like a regular genie, except that you have to do the washing up afterwards. Plus you only get the one wish, although you do get an extra 50% of a wish if you refer a friend. Terms and conditions apply. To summon the tea genie, you don't rub a lamp, no, sir. No lamp rubbing here. You have to kiss the teapot. See, if you could all chant 3 times, kiss the teapot, I'd be grateful. Ready? Kiss the teapot, kiss the teapot, kiss the teapot. Mwah. Okay, nothing's happened. So, I asked out the bloke from the coffee shop. He said yes. He said he wasn't that fussy. Turns out his name was also Robert. I can't do that. I can't date someone with the same name as me. I can't call out my own name at the moment of orgasm. The only person who normally does that is Tom Cruise. Or Jesus. We went to a cat cafe. It was his idea. I'd never been to a cat cafe. I thought there would be cats everywhere, and you'd have tea and cakes surrounded by all these cats, and if that was the case, then we could have just gone to my Aunt Wendy's. We had tea and sandwiches, and it was very nice. It's just a shame that my allergies played up. Cat cafes, I said. What would they think of next? Badger bistros? Budgerigar buffets? Salamander snack bars? I ordered a yoghurt, but the granola was off. One of the cats had mistaken it for a litter tray. Let's meet again, he said. Imagine knowing you so intimately that I don't have to ask how you take your tea. Your beverage preference would indicate our bond. I'd know how much milk to put in and how long the tea bag stays, and I'd hand the cup over and it would just be perfect. Imagine that. When there's a chill in the air, you'd see the steam rising ever so wispy from the brim of the mug, and you'd smile and say, "You read my mind. Can you tell what I'm thinking right now?" Yes, of course. Silly me. Here's a custard cream. Tea can be so calming. I had a doctor's appointment the other day. No pressure. I decided to get the bus. Plenty of time. The bus was late. Where's the bus? Finally turns up. Still got a bit of time. 2 stops later, the bus breaks down. We're sitting there for ages. The passengers get talking. Some of us band together and decide to get a taxi. We wait for the taxi. It turns up, but then there's an argument over who should get in the taxi. One person brings his dog, a big Labrador dog. We're all squeezed in the back of this taxi with a big old Labrador dog. We drive down to the town. Then there's another argument because people are getting out at different places, and there's a row about how much each person should pay. And the dog is barking, and the argument's getting heated. And I fling them £5 and I get out at the doctor's. I get to the reception. It's a touch-screen booking system. I manage to misspell my own name and then put the wrong date of birth, and at last I'm allowed in. I get to the waiting room and sit down, and the moment I sit down, the doctor comes out and calls my name. He then tells me I have high blood pressure. Tea can be so calming. Did you know that tea has got just as much caffeine as coffee? Yes, but it's diluted, you knob. I took the best parts from every cherished friendship, chopped and diced and immersed in boiling liquid. A fool might see such behaviour as destructive, willingly subverting delicacy, ungrateful in the afternoon. But when I sip from this magic concoction, oh, it perks me up. Of course, we can't overlook the human cost of the tea industry. Not every cuppa is free trade. Not every tea company is ethical. Rubina picks tea, plucks tips from fresh growth, dreams and dares imagine a sunshine future, a dance of joy in a hard-won existence, future enmeshed in the smile of promise. Rubina picks tea, plucks tips from fresh growth. She's never wanted to disappear, but out here feels invisible. No connection to the immediate, yet her family depend on her labour, awaiting her nightly return with outstretched arms and grateful hearts. Rubina picks tea, plucks tips from fresh growth. She can sense a world unlike her own, of lazy entitlement and the luck of their birth, sitting back to sip from china cups. She helps quench their thirst, but the value of the end product is disproportionately high. She fills her basket and its contents are paid by weight. Because it's all about numbers, she ignores the monotony and the pain and the aching of her back. Rubina picks tea every day. Rubina picks tea, plucks tips from fresh growth. Rubina picks tea and does just enough to survive. I've travelled the world, and I've had tea everywhere. I've had tea and scones in the jungle of northern Queensland. I've had builder's brew in the cabin of a trawler. I've had Darjeeling from a dainty cup on the banks of the Danube. I was once in the state of Virginia, and I asked for a tea, and the waitress came back with this glass of cold, slightly brown liquid. When I asked what it was, she said I should have specified hot tea. So do you know what she did? She put it in the microwave and then asked if my accent was real. But the worst cuppa I ever had was right here in the UK. It was made by a colleague of mine who took the water straight from the hot water boiler. Yes, thank you, Sylvia. I'd love some Legionnaire's disease with my 11s. No, don't tip it away. The coroner will need that. The response to everything in the UK is to have a cup of tea. If something bad happens, we have a cup of tea. And then things seem slightly better. If something good happens, we have a cup of tea. If there's nothing happening, we have a cup of tea. If it's too busy, we say, hey, let's stop for 5 minutes and have a cup of tea. It seems the only time we don't want a cup of tea is when we're having a cup of tea. Well, especially if Sylvia's made it. My reflection: in the concave teaspoon does me no favours. Tea, so I've heard, comes in so many flavours. A sentient mug has remembrances of cuppers past, holding on to each magnificent slurp the memories last. Deep warmth, perky taste and internal hugs. Tea tastes better from certain mugs. I can never feel my thirst diminishing. The sadness when I think of those cuppers which I never got around to finishing. Yes, there should be a name for that feeling you get in the workplace when you realise there's a cup of tea somewhere that you've abandoned, haunted by ghost cups, slowly becoming cold. I bet the Germans have got a word for it. Tea drinks but Verspätung. Tea drinking lateness guilt when you're busy at work. One thing that's really pants, and that's the feeling of tea drinking Verspätung. You mourn for the cuppa that could have been. I know how it feels. I know how it feels. A couple of years ago, one of the tea companies experimented with instant tea based on the same premise as instant coffee, and then it came in a jar as granules. But there's no such thing as instant coffee, is there? Because you've still got to boil the kettle. The eternal workman's lament, thirsty work this. Even back in the days of the Wild West, working on the plumbing in an old saloon. You've had some cowboys in here. My aunt died. We accidentally mixed up her ashes with the Earl Grey. Brings a whole new meaning to the expression, a cup of Rosie. Her name was Rosie. Would you like a cup of tea? My Aunt Rosie would ask, before going off into the kitchen, grabbing her tea towel and her apron and singing the following little song to herself.
I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea, I do like tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. It's time for a cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea, I do like tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. It's time for a cup of tea.
So I went on another date with Robert, the sexy barista. We went to the Museum of Smoke Detectors. God, it made my neck hurt. When the batteries start to run out, there's a syncopated bleeping sound which echoes through the gallery. When we finished looking around, we went to the cafe and ordered tea. They also offered free neck massages. The cafe was next to the gift shop where you could buy postcards of smoke detectors, rubbers in the shape of smoke detectors, plush toys of the two Museum of Smoke Detector mascots, Smokey and Detecty. You could even buy fake novelty smoke detectors. Ours are fun and completely safe. As we sat there in the cafe, they managed to burn a toasted tea cake and set off all the smoke detectors. Everybody just clapped. But then something happened which, alas, showed me that maybe he wasn't the man for me. In fact, it was hideous and upsetting. And shortly afterwards, I broke up with him. I thought you were a real fun guy. We got on well, didn't have to try. But when you made a cup of tea, almost made me cry. You put the milk in first. I know that you're a sexy hunk, but I was almost sick when I saw you dunk your tea bag, now a cold sodden lump in the milk that you put in first. I know it's petty and terribly so. You could have done much worse, I know. But I think I'll have to let you go, 'cause you put the milk in first. It's funny how in life we seek a man to rescue us when life is bleak. But your cup of tea was so incredibly weak, 'cause you put the milk in first. The standards I have are high, it's true. I wanted to spend my life with you. But what you did just made me wanna spew. There's no way we're gonna brew. It looks like we are through. You put the milk, you put the milk, you put the milk in first. That sacred liquid defiled, that beverage of kings tainted. What he did with that cup of tea, oh my God, I almost fainted. I had to dump him. Oh, it's so depressing. Do you know what I think I'll do now? I think I'll listen to my favourite Tea Astrology podcast. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to listen out for my tea, which is milk, no sugar. Here we go.
It's the #1 Tea Astrology podcast, Mystic Dregs.
Hello there. This is DJ JD, and this is the Tea Astrology chart podcast for this month. Okay, here we go. If you're tea, milk, 1 sugar, this is what the next week or so is looking like for you. With Darjeeling in retrograde, today could be a good day for going out and buying a loofah. So it's loofah time if you are tea, milk, 1 sugar. At around 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, you will find 20 pence in your coat pocket. So there you go, tea, milk, 1 sugar, 20p in your coat pocket to look forward to. What else have we got here? We got tea, milk, 2 sugars. And it's looking like this for you if you are tea, milk, 2 sugars. With Twinings running your passion chart, today is a good day to sort out your pants drawer. Also, you might want to go and check out that funny smell that's coming from behind the fridge. Okay, behind the fridge for you if you are tea, milk, 2 sugars. Okay, next we move on to tea, no milk, no sugar. So that is basically tea with no milk, nothing in it, just tea and water, of course. You've got to have your water in there. Your astrology is your hemorrhoids are clearing up nicely. And there's one more left in this podcast. This is me, DJ JD DJD, with Mystic Dregs, tea, milk, no sugar. So if you are tea, milk, no sugar, anyone out there? This is how your week is looking. Let's face it, Buster, you're alone and you always will be. And there's nothing to save you from the hideous curse of your unique loneliness, which looms silently like a phantom over everything that you do. Okay, so that's the week ahead for you. Of course, you've got to remember, unlike a cup of tea, these things are got to be taken with a pinch of salt. The tea drinker's horoscope, they're all water signs. Anyway, this is me, DJ JD DJD, signing off for another week.
It's the #1 Tea Astrology podcast, Mystic Dregs.
What I wanted was very simple. The best cup of tea there had ever been. Incomparable. It would stand above all other brews, a beacon for a new age in which our understanding of that fine beverage were to be elevated, and in so doing benefit the whole of the human race. Which blend would I use? From oolong to Darjeeling, I set myself the task of picking, like a thief, the most perfect leaf. Came a cropper in Happy Shopper, but settled for a well-known brand whose flavour recalled strawberry jam at summer fetes and the magnificence of this remarkable planet, and I put the kettle on. Would there be milk? A dash, I suppose. As the water boiled, I investigated scientific research, and through this defined the exact moment the water should stop boiling, the type of china cup, the thickness of the porcelain, and how long it should brew, how warm the teapot should be, and once all of this was decided, I poured my cup of tea. It was okay. It was merely adequate. You came round a couple of days later, and I told you about my experiment. And over a cuppa, you gave me the latest gossip about your friend in the pub who thought Berlin was the capital of Ireland, about your friend in the pub who said I'd give my right arm to be ambidextrous, about your friend in the pub who said, I always forget, what was the name of the dog in Lassie? And we both laughed at how silly the world is. And that's when it struck me. This right now was the most perfect cuppa there's ever been. Because it's not the blend, and it's not the leaf, and it's not the temperature, and it's not how much milk you put in, and it's not the thickness of the porcelain, it's the company. It's the company that makes it so. It's who you're with and the joy this brings. And I told this to my friend, and he said, You forgot my sugar. So the world has become a confusing place lately, hasn't it? A place of division and polarisation, ego-driven stupidity, AI drivel, social media mindsets unable to concentrate, anti-intellectualism, an increasing disparity between the wealthy and the poor, environmental disaster, freak weather, an increasing authoritarianism from bargain bucket wannabe dictators, tap dancing on the fringes of fascism, and nobody wants to talk. Everyone wants to shout. Nobody is listening. The obvious is happening right before our eyes. It's time to love again. It's time to care. It's time to slow down and understand ourselves and understand the world. Thirsty work, this. That's what Simon said. Simon is a paint and decorator. Simon is my friend's brother. Simon's been sanding my landing. Thirsty work, this. That's what he keeps saying. I wonder what he wants. My friend Kevin suggested he take me to tea at the Ritz. Good idea, I said. Sounds like a cracker. The imposing facade was creepy and gothic, and that was just our waiter. Thirsty work, this. That's what Simon keeps saying. Thirsty work, this. Simon, the sandy-haired handyman sanding the landing. I wonder what's wrong with his throat. I went to see a fortune teller. What does the future hold for me? I asked. As she read my tea leaves, she said, "You're about to lose a lot of money." She charged me 30 quid. Thirsty work, this. He's still saying it, is Simon. Thirsty work, this. I only wish I knew what I could do to help him. A friend phoned with a catastrophe. Calm down, I said. What you need is a cup of tea and tell me all about your catastrophe. He said, I'll tell you what my bloody catastrophe is. The kettle stopped working. Thirsty work, this. He's still saying it, is Simon. Thirsty work, this. Perhaps I should get him a lozenge. Did you know that afternoon tea at any other time of the day is just called tea? Thirsty work, this. Geez, he's still at it. Kevin said to me, "What's the difference between Chelsea Football Club and a tea bag? What's the difference between Chelsea Football Club and a tea bag? I said, I don't know. What's the difference between Chelsea Football Club and a tea bag? He said tea bag stays in the cup for longer. I have no idea what that means. Not into football. Thirsty work, this. He's a nice chap, is Simon. Jovial. Says his surname is Thomas. Thomas, he said, with a T. Get that? Thomas, with a T. Thirsty work, this. Thomas, with a T. We don't talk enough about tea as a survival strategy. It's not heavy, it's not oppressive, it's a way of remaining who you are. It's a way of staying in the moment. When something goes wrong, when something goes really wrong, nobody says, let's talk about our emotions. Nobody says, let's talk about the ramifications. We say, do you want a cup of tea? Shall I put the kettle on? It's what we offer when words cannot suffice, when they become clumsy, when they become weighted or dangerous or too damn honest. So we put the kettle on and we let the steam rise, and the steam and the warmth say so much more than we ever could. Somewhere, right now, a kettle is being switched on after a phone call that's changed everything. Somewhere, right now, lovers have parted and the water is warming up because waiting is better than breaking. A cup of tea will not fix things. It will never bring the happiness back, or the companionship, or the security. It will not stop wars or hatred or bitterness or division. It will not stop environmental disaster. It will never save us. It says nothing, but it means a lot. Being human is thirsty work. Because humanity, with its monuments and its empires and its algorithms and its progress and its technology, can never match the affection of intimacy, the sense of community and the warmth of being together. One cup of tea, not too full, mind you. One cracker, lightly buttered, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to my show about tea. It wasn't such a calamity like I thought it would be, this show about tea. You see, I had fun. And I hope that you did too. It's kind of like a brew that I shared with you, and now it's time for the washing up. Pass me your cup. Thank you so much for listening to Spout today. Right then, I'm off for a coffee.